How's everybody doing? Good. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. I want to start today with a story because I just experienced this last night, and it's been, of course, on my mind because it was last night. So I went to an iFly experience. Does anybody know what that is? Or has anybody ever done that? So basically, I flew last night. My body flying, not on a plane. And let me tell you a little bit about this and why it relates to spirituality. And so you go and you wear a suit like you would to parachute and do skydiving out of a plane. But they have a wind tunnel that literally blows wind that's strong enough that lifts your body up and holds your body up. But if your body is not balanced, if it's not positioned in the right way, you will fall and you will land on the netting that's below you. I mean, they keep an instructor in there to keep you safe, but the point I'm trying to get at is they do things like they're like straighten out your legs and move your arms up like this so that the air you can float basically and move or start. And as you start moving your body, it starts allowing you to maneuver and actually fly. So why is that interesting, and what does it have to do with spirituality? Well, I want you to think about your energy body and your actual body. And think about, as they talk about all the time in spirituality, be in the flow of spirit. You guys have all heard this one, right? You've also heard, be in the now of the moment. Am I correct? Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. Well, here's something interesting. I spent the last year and a half experiencing some major things. And how I run my life, is how I teach, is that I throw myself into things if spirit pushes me to do it. And then sometimes, spirit doesn't always push you into things that's all sun and roses. Sometimes it pushes you into experiences that you're like, why did you want me to do this? This sucks. And the reason being is because it humbles you, it helps you grow, it helps you understand who you are on a different level. So, as I'm sitting there and I'm out there and I got my arms up like this and I got my legs, they're like, straighten out your legs. Well, you know what? Straightening out your legs with this wind tunnel blowing just about as hard as possible is easier said than done because your legs are like this. So that takes what? Strength. Am I correct? Yeah. Okay. And so then you've got your arms and they're kind of doing this, and I wish I had the video because it made me laugh. But, and then finally you go out twice. The second time was easier, and I actually did. The guide had his hand on my belly just slightly, but I was flying. And that's an exhilarating feeling. But it's no different than a bird or a plane. When the plane is up in the air, it has to be balanced correctly. Has anybody ever been on a plane when they start moving you around because there's not a lot of people on the plane? There's a reason, because they don't want the weight. They want the weight distributed. Otherwise, they don't want the plane to tip or do something which has happened recently. Because that means that it's out of balance. Well, your body and your energy system is the same. So as we're out there living and experiencing life, things happen. And it's not about, in this conversation, it's not about you feeling guilty. It's about you starting to look at it. When I watched that video from last night, I sit there and go, where are your thoughts at? Well, I started thinking about my thoughts. My thoughts are like, man, my legs feel like they're weak as all get out right now. And why is this harder than I actually thought it was? I thought I was just going to jump out there and I was just going to start soaring and flying. Can anybody relate to that in life? I'm going to start this new adventure in my life and it's just going to be great. Who's been an entrepreneur? Who is an entrepreneur? My business, I got the best idea in the world and all these customers are going to flood to me and God's Spirit's just going to make it happen. Does it work that way? Does it work that way? What about when you start, has anybody ever started a new job or a career? Everybody better raise their hand. Well, who's ever had children? Everybody raised their hand on that one too. Most people, I don't say everybody. So, was it easy being a parent? Did you know, was there a book that you had to read? Was there a training class on how to be a parent? No. Was there? Well, there probably was a training class on how to do your career, but in some of you might have went to college. Who went to college in here? Okay. Did your college degree effectively prepare you for your career? It maybe gave you some information to get started, but when you got there, you learned what? On the job, am I correct? So what ends up happening, and I was just thinking about this, I was thinking about my 25-year-old self and my career as a trainer. and now my almost 51-year-old self, because I'm turning 51 in about a week and a half, my almost 51-year-old self and how I thought. I thought I knew everything at 25. Now at 51, I feel like I just barely know anything. So, because we're learning and growing. But what ends up happening is as you're in life, and your arms are kind of flailing around, and you're starting to get used to moving around, and you're starting to finally, you go into balance with it, then the energy starts to what? Move easier for you. Because you, A, with wisdom, let things go, am I correct? And sometimes you speak up, speak your mind when 20, 30 years ago you didn't want to do that because you didn't want to hurt people's feelings, you didn't want to do this, and you were not maybe confident in yourself. So here's the other thing. Who practices the law of attraction in here? Manifestation. Who prays in here? Okay? So one of the things that I have learned is this. I may not know everything in this physical world, but what I do know is that there are beings that know more than I do or have a different perspective than I do sitting here in this physical body. So one of the things that I do, and I'm sure a lot of you do, I have a conversation with Spirit constantly. Sometimes it's thank you, sometimes it's, hey, I would love to do this, hey, I know you're going to take care of me, you know, all these different types of things. But what I'm talking about as far as getting in balance, as far as the iFly goes, once you get into balance, then you what? Start soaring, you start moving, those businesses start soaring, your career starts soaring once you start learning about who you are. Well, Esther Hicks used to talk about when it came to law of attraction, you put your intention out there, and then when your energy becomes a vibrational match with what you're trying to manifest, you become confident and you become balanced in it. And that's what's really super interesting, because as you've been out there working on something and you're like, man, I manifested, that came in, it manifested, but it wasn't quite exactly what I thought. Has anybody ever experienced that one before? Okay? And then you've had things where it takes a while to come in, and then there's times when you manifest and it comes in just like that. Everybody relate to that one? Okay? I just had that experience. Most people in this church know for about a year and a half I've been traveling around, living as a nomad, and couch surfing, and staying at Airbnbs, and doing all that and stuff because I thought it would be a fun idea. And there was a lot of things that had happened in my life. So about a month ago, I was staying at my friend's Airbnbs around Tampa, where she had something available for about 4 months. And finally she said, Jer, I love, and I was paying her rent, of course, and she says, Jer, I love you, but it's getting ready to be spring break, and this is going to be a really challenging time. There's not going to be a lot of availability. She was honest with me, and I was like, fine. So I said to Spirit, I need to, what? Get a stable place to live. So in order to tell you that story, I have to go back 4 months and why I was doing that. So I had a room I was renting out, and I was traveling out of that. I loved my friends, but they were extremely loud all the time, 24 hours a day. Well, if you know anything about me, other than public speaking, I live in a lot of solitude and quiet. And so it was very challenging for me. So I realized to myself that I had to move, otherwise I was going to stop loving my friends. Let's just put it that way. And I wanted to continue loving them. So I moved out not knowing where I was going to be, and I was going to be flying to Colorado in like 3 days. So I went to Colorado, I was there for a couple weeks, and then I came back into Florida, and that's where it started moving around. And my cousin had said, well, come and stay at my place up in Ocala. I'm not going to be back there for 6 months. So I was like, all right, well, that works out. And so then I get up there, and she says, literally the day after I get there, surprise, I'm moving back in 3 days. So, love my cousin, but living together, we would not get along. We have a lot of varied things. We're family. She was there when I was born, adore her, but we just wouldn't get along. And so I said to God, I said, no, you need to fix this and change that. And that's where my friend brought up the Airbnb, the income for me to be able to do that came in, all that kind of stuff. Well, because what I'm saying is that as you're flailing and moving around, what ends up happening is when your energy gets very confident, remember it says in the law of attraction you have to be very, what? Specific. But what the specific is when you say, no, this is it. This is what I need it in the highest and best good. I need it easy, and I'm here manifesting with Spirit. But you're in alignment with what? Spirit. And so instead of you kind of all over the place, and who's ever started something and you're of two minds on everything, and you're like, well, I'd really like to do this, but what if this happens? Can anybody relate to that one? Well, the what if happens is when you're doing this, when you're still not in balance, because your energy is all over the place. And that's okay. We all do this. We haven't become a vibrational match with what we're trying to manifest. And so, and it's not our fault. The only thing we had available to us was the movie The Secret, which was teaching us how to manifest Corvettes and mansions. And that's not exactly practical in our world. And it's also not important. Some people, having a mansion is not that important to them, right? So, I don't want to clean it for one thing. Yes. And I don't want it, somebody's like, I'll have the staff. I don't want to have the staff to clean it either. So you start going in and you start looking at that, and then I fast forward to my friend telling me about spring break. Well, the reason why I wanted to tell you this story is because I went and crashed on my friend's couch for about a week because I needed to figure out what I was going to do. And Spirit kept on telling me, go apply for this one apartment complex. I'm like, well, they say it's like a 2-year waiting list. You know, this is the, flailing around. And I heard Spirit say, just do it. I'm like, all right, well, I need a place to live. And I asked for a few specific things. And this is how this conversation came up with Spirit. I want a place on the water. I at least need a 2-bedroom because I'm a content creator and I need something quiet. I can't have neighbors that are super noisy because when I'm recording, I can't have people screaming in the background or all this other kind of stuff going on. And I would like to have a balcony looking out over the lake, and I would like a washer and dryer. I didn't want much. I mean, I just was very specific. So, interesting enough, I went in there and they said a 1-bedroom would take about 4 months, a 4-month waiting list, and a 2-bedroom would take about a 12-month waiting list. And I said, all right, well, here's the $50 for the application, and let's go ahead and create it. And I said, God, I know you got me. So, went back. A week later, I get a phone call. I'm thinking it's going to be a 1-bedroom. No, it was a 2-bedroom on the lake with a washer and dryer. It's quiet in a red brick building, trees everywhere. I have walking trails and an island sitting on the lake right in front of me. So it's everything I was looking for, except for one small little thing. I wanted the first floor because I wanted the garden terrace, but I still got the balcony looking out over the lake. I'm not going to argue with Spirit over this one. I'll take it. So 1 week. 1 week. Because when it comes to God and Spirit, nothing is what? Impossible. And where does God lie? Is it up in the sky? Is it it's right here, right? God's right here. And so this is where energy comes. Where up here you're flailing around and you finally get in alignment with who you are. Nothing is impossible to you. Nothing. So I'm teaching a psychic development class, and it's the first one I've taught in like 15 years. And I was super excited because the church Spirit said, it's time for you to start teaching psychic development again. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. So, and I taught it for years, and I heard Spirit say, go tell your friend, because I happened to be at that church that day, do you guys have anybody teaching psychic development? She goes, you know what's really interesting? We haven't taught it here in 9 years. And so it's usually me, but she was the associate pastor at that time. And I said, okay, well, I'd like to teach one. I'd like to teach a psychic development class. When I tell you that these 10 ladies in my class, I am so proud of them. And it's a basic psychic development class. But they saw auras on the first day. They saw the energy on the first day. They could feel, you know, the stuff where you go behind, you start showing the energy between the fingers. They saw the energy on the first day. And I'm literally just teaching them how to get into themselves, to have confidence in what was already there. Because you all have it. And I'll go to churches and it's like, well, you know, other people are better than me. Well, what happens is that's when you're flailing around. You're worrying about what another person does. And what that means is you're not in the now of the moment. You're over there. You're with them. And so I have people all the time ask me, can you teach me how to go out of body? I said, well, how about you practice being in your body first, because you're not really in it. What do you mean I'm not really in it? I said, well, you're worried about what's going on in the news, you're worried about the weather, you're worried about what your grandkids and kids are doing, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife. What's going on with you? Well, I love all of them. That's what's going on with me. I said, you don't even love yourself. Oh, that really upsets clients, by the way. And what do you mean I don't love myself? I love them. I said, you have to start with loving yourself, because when you love yourself, you stay in the body, you're strong in your body energetically, and you're not flailing all over the place. And guess what? All of us have this lesson. We're starting to peel back the layers of understanding of who we are, so we can what? Become stronger spiritually in ourselves. So most of you guys know I put on a spiritual conference on cruise ships. So I did my one back in December. I took 75 people to the Mayan ruins. Well, my best friend is one of my business partners. He's not necessarily in this world. He's learning about it, but he's not necessarily in it. And his partner had back surgery about 6 weeks beforehand. He was with us. The doctor had cleared him to be there, but for some reason the sutures broke in his spine, and he was leaking spinal fluid on the cruise. So my best friend is like, Jerry, I know the spiritual stuff works. He goes, but is God punishing me? Because I feel like my vacation, and what is spirituality all about? I said, if you thought spirituality was all sunshine and roses, you were mistaken. I said, spirituality can be very hard. And the reason why it's hard, and what spirituality is about, is how you show up to the problems. Because there's never going to stop being challenged. He goes, but you never have any problems, Jared. I'm like, have you been paying attention? But he's like, I said, it's how I show up, because I think every challenge is a lesson for me to get stronger in myself. So what I would invite you guys to do about this presentation I'm giving you guys, it's not about flying, it's not about any of that kind of stuff. It's how are you showing up to the things going on in your life? Because what ends up happening is all these challenges, if they pull you out of your body and they pull you over here and you're out of balance and you're not in your body, then you're energetically not strong within yourself. But if you show up and you get grounded and you're balanced in that moment, and you're literally able to show up with strength and truth and understanding of who you are, you're going to be in a vibrational match with what you need to say, do, and be at that moment. And that's what really it's all about. So, long story short, we ended up, somebody gave us $1,200 to pay for the ticket to fly him home from Cozumel to Tampa. He got another surgery. He had a plastic surgeon this time go in, because they're better with the sutures that they have to do. And he's fine. He's actually back at work. But we actually have, my roommate was a nurse anesthetist that happened to be there and help him get him on the plane and do everything. He says he needs to go home right now because the spinal fluid is coming out. Chances are there could be infection coming in. And so that's something where we were concerned about things like, an infection in the brain and in the spine and all these kind of things. Well, interestingly enough, 5 planets were in retrograde during this cruise. So nobody read their emails about where to be, how to get on the shuttle, how to get to the cruise ship, and everybody was confused on the first day. But we had this profound major experience. And so where it was very rocky start, the day that I had to put the boys on the plane, I took the people to the Mayan ruins at Cozumel, and all 50 people that came with me stopped and said, Jer, you've been supporting us all week. Let's pray for your friends. And saw them transitioning and having things move smoothly. And so these people that were all out of balance when we were there on the cruise, by the time we got done, they were a family. And they said to me, I have had life-changing experiences on this cruise. Thank you so much. So, but that's life. That's where we're all at. We come together. You notice the United States always comes together during problems, but we argue any other time. So, and that's because when the energy starts coming in, people start coming together because their hearts start to align. And it says in the Bible, it says, when 2 or more gather in my name, who's there with us? The Father, am I correct? And so what that is the energy within you that is aligning to come together in the heart. But we've been taught, my cousin was just arguing about this recently, I said, God lies over here. She goes, no, he lies right here in the pineal gland. I'm like, well, that's a part of it. So, she goes, no, it's the all-seeing eye. I'm like, is that what the Christian church is teaching you guys? No. the governor of the energy system is right here. No, that's a Hindu Eastern philosophy thing. I was like, I give up. But the point is that when energy is not in balance and we know it's in flow, then we're not in the now of the moment. And so the last thing I'll leave you guys with this is that when you leave here today, start looking at all your challenges as things that help you grow. Where is this challenge taking me? I mean, traffic here, I left at 8 o'clock this morning to get here about 10:15, and traffic was, getting by Kissimmee was what? You can just imagine, all backed up, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be late, that's not a thing for me. And so then I just started saying, divine timing, divine order, divine plan, make it easy. And this car started slowly moving, and they started slowly moving. Because what ends up happening is that you energetically, instead of me getting and contributing to everybody else's stress in that line, we start bringing a sense of peace. And when everybody else in that line is all stressed, do you think they're paying attention? No, they're rubbernecking and they're slowing down more, and they're contributing to the anxiety of the whole group, because you're in a collective consciousness when you're sitting in traffic. But when you start to calm yourself, and your electromagnetic field will start to open up, and it'll start to open up the possibilities. And you may still be sitting there in traffic, but at least it'll be a lot more enjoyable than being stressed out. Am I correct? So this is where you have authority and dominion over this third dimensional world. You being balanced and at center so you can stow up with strength. And I'll leave you guys with that.